Hi, I'm Mike Harris, back with another episode of What in the Law podcast. Today I'm going to talk about what if you have an arrest warrant and when, if ever, can you do something about it. Now, I'm specifically going to be talking about how things work here in Colorado. Certainly things can be very similar in other parts of the country, but there can also be some big differences, especially on the requirement of paying money, which some states are getting away from. But in Colorado, there's normally three main reasons why you might get an arrest warrant, and finally I'm going to finish with the bonus category of mistakes. The first reason why people often get warrants is someone says you broke the law. If that's what happens, the police write up a report, they present it to a judge, and the judge signs a warrant. All the police have to show is what is called probable cause. And probable cause is not that much. It's basically someone says you broke the law. And a judge will not review that to decide who is telling the truth or review the entire case. They just look at the report and see, is there an allegation? And if there is an allegation that you broke the law, they sign a warrant. In Colorado, normally that means a monetary condition attached. Although there are other types of bonds where you might not be able to post a bond until you see a judge. Or also what is called personal recognizance bonds for more minor things. And that is basically the same thing as a summons, where you have to promise to show up in court, but the police don't actually take you to jail and make you pay any money to get out of jail. Those type of warrants, there's usually not that much you can do prior to getting arrested. There are some exceptions to that if there is something unusual about the case where a lawyer could possibly present something to the detective or district attorney and try to get either a bond changed or get them to reconsider their decision on submitting for the arrest warrant, but that is pretty rare. Most of the time, if you have an arrest warrant for a new charge, you're going to have to, at some point, deal with that by either paying the money to get out of jail, getting a bondsman, or staying in jail until you get to court. The second type of reason why people often get arrest warrants are probation violations. Basically, if a probation officer says you did not complete something or did not do something, they can submit a request to the judge to have you arrested and sometimes pay a money bond to get out, sometimes not even have a monetary condition. Those are also hard to do anything about prior to being arrested, largely because probation officers have become very lenient in issuing summons compared to how things used to be, where people were more often taken into custody. Some of this is because of the COVID situation and trying to not keep people in jails too much. And some of it is just people are becoming different in how they think about whether people need to be in jail for various violations. Usually when you see a warrant on one of those types of situations, it's someone not showing up to the probation meetings or some sort of threatening situation. But there may be some exceptions where you can talk to a lawyer and get something changed before court if there is something unusual about your case. The third reason people often get warrants are failures to appear. This is what you are often able to do something about before having to go to jail and get taken into custody. Sometimes, if you come forward after a failure to appear, a judge will go ahead and cancel that warrant if you start showing up to court. Whether that's likely or not is going to depend on the severity of the case, your overall record, how long you've waited, and whether or not you have an actual legitimate reason for not showing up. But judges can be surprisingly flexible in allowing someone to come to court after a failure to appear, and you may be able to avoid having to go into jail and posting a bond. If you have one of these situations, definitely talk to a lawyer about it. Now finally, the bonus category, mistakes. Unfortunately, it doesn't take that much for a mistake to end up in an arrest warrant being issued. Something is put in the computer wrong, or a date is put in wrong, and it can happen. And I've had that happen to a couple clients, and fortunately able to get wind of that and get to the court and get it canceled before the person was arrested. But that doesn't always happen with people, especially if they don't have warning about it before they see the police. When you are talking to police, if you are arrested on a warrant, keep in mind you cannot argue your way out of a decision of a probable cause finding. If it's really not you, and maybe they described the person wrong, that might be something that a police officer would check to make sure you're the person. But they're not going to investigate to decide if you're guilty. They're just going to see if you're the person they're looking for. If it's something as extreme as a computer error, hopefully you can get the police officer to call the courthouse and check on that. But depending on the situation, that may or may not be possible. But if you do get an arrest warrant, do not give up hope. There may be something you can do about it, and you can always talk to a lawyer. And see you next time.